Bulbul and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law we try and cover a topic which may be of interest to our viewers. And secondly, and more importantly, what it does, it allows our viewers to call in and ask us any questions that they have on any aspect of English law. Hopefully on this show we should be able to cover most areas of law, from immigration, road traffic matters, personal injury, family, crime, etc. So whatever questions you've got, do please dial the number that comes on the screen and call us and ask your questions, and hopefully we should be able to deal with your queries live on air. Just a couple of matters before we get going. Obviously it's a live show. We're only able to take very brief details from you live on air, and we're not able to look at your documents for obvious reasons live on air. And because of that, if your query is complicated, we'll ask you to leave your number and contact details with the control room so we can have a more in-depth discussion with you later on. So that's our introduction basically done. What I want to do today is discuss a topic which we haven't looked at for a long time, and that relates to people who are overstayers in the United Kingdom and what they can do in the United Kingdom to regularise their stay. So I want to look at that in a bit of detail, but as always, if you have any questions, whether it's related to immigration law or any other aspects of law, please do call in. It doesn't have to be restricted to the area that we'll be covering on the show today. Now, in terms of overstayers, you generally have a number of different categories of people, and depending on which category somebody falls into determines what the rules are, what the immigration rules are which apply to them. On the one hand, you may have somebody who's single, who doesn't have any kids, to the other end of the scale where you've got somebody who's married, who has children in the United Kingdom, who may even be British citizens. So you've got a whole range of people who may be classed as overstayers in the United Kingdom. And even for that class of people, there may be somebody who the Home Office are already aware of. They may be reporting to a reporting centre. There are those who have been told to report, and even those who have never reported, they've simply overstayed and are living in the United Kingdom. Obviously the current climate is such that it's very difficult for somebody who's an overstayer. For example, legally they are not able to work, which impacts on their ability to earn money and to provide for themselves whilst they're here in the United Kingdom. They can't open a bank account, so even if they manage to get a job somewhere, which they're not meant to be doing, it's difficult to be paid into a bank account. Thirdly, there are now restrictions on their ability to drive. If the Home Office finds out about somebody having overstayed their visa, they generally get the DVLA involved, and they generally revoke their license. So there's a whole host of difficulties and sanctions which the Home Office will apply to somebody who is an overstayer who's already come to their attention. So what I want to do today is look at what these categories of people, what they can do to try and become legal in the United Kingdom. And what I want to do is start off with somebody who is single and then move on to the different categories of people up to somebody who is married and somebody who's got children in the United Kingdom. As far as those people who are single are concerned, the difficulty at the moment is this, that anyone who is an adult now, generally speaking, needs to have lived in the United Kingdom for some 25 years before they are able to apply for a visa to regularize their stay in the United Kingdom. There is an exception to that, and I will deal with that exception in one moment. But generally speaking, the rule is that an adult has to spend 20 years in the United Kingdom. This is 20 years of illegal residence in the United Kingdom that we're talking about. So they have to spend 20 years living in the UK illegally before they are able to apply for leave to remain in the United Kingdom. Now, the rule used to be that you needed just 14 years residence, 14 years of illegal residence, and you would then be granted indefinite leave straight away. Now that's been changed now to 20 years of unlawful residence, and even at the end of 20 years, when an application is made to the Home Office to regularise your stay, you're not granted indefinite leave anymore. What you are now granted is a visa or leave for 2.5 years, and what you're supposed to do is to continue extending that visa every 2.5 years until you've spent 10 years in the United Kingdom under that visa category, at which point you qualify for indefinite leave. So essentially we've ended up with a system where from the moment somebody becomes illegal in the United Kingdom, it effectively takes them 30 years to acquire indefinite leave, almost half a person's life, because the first 20 years the person is not able to do anything in terms of obtaining a visa. After having spent 20 years in the United Kingdom, they no longer get indefinite leave. They are put onto this pathway which leads to settlement after a period of 10 years. So it's a 2.5 year visa which is extended again and again. So in essence, what we have is a system where somebody needs to be in the UK for some 30 years before they apply for indefinite leave. Now, you can appreciate the harshness of the current rules even more when you look at the fact that somebody who gets married abroad in that situation would not be able to sponsor their spouse to the United Kingdom until they've obtained indefinite leave. So ultimately, when they've obtained a visa, completed 10 years, so this is their 30th year in the UK, they have managed to obtain indefinite leave, it's only at that stage that they are able to obtain indefinite leave. So that's the difficulty with this rule, that it takes literally a person's half a lifetime to be able to obtain indefinite leave. And to some extent that's no surprise, because the current climate is that things are made as difficult as possible for those who are overstayers, those who have overstayed their visa, so that they themselves decide to return back to their home country, whatever their situation in the home country. What the climate is, that the situation is made so difficult for them that ultimately they decide it's no longer worth staying in the United Kingdom, no longer worth going through the whole charade of living here for 20 years, applying and trying to get indefinite leave after another 10 years. It's better just to go back to their home country. And that's the situation we unfortunately have for somebody who is an overstayer and who's an adult. Now, there is one exception to that, and in practice the reality is you come across this very, very rarely, and that applies to somebody who is under the age of 25 but over the age of 18. So in that category where somebody is over the age of 18, under the age of 25, there is the possibility of applying for leave to remain, where you have spent half your life in the United Kingdom. So it's possible, for example, somebody who comes in the UK as a child at the age of 10, if they continue to live here, let's say they get to the age of 21, they at that stage they have spent 11 years in the United Kingdom, and in that situation, because they have spent more than half their life in the United Kingdom, they are able to regularize their stay. But in reality, in practice, we rarely come across those applications. The typical situation is an adult over the age of 25 who's lived here, and unfortunately for that person, the only way of getting legal stay is making an application after 20 years. We'll look at the other categories after we have a short break, so hopefully I'll see you in the next couple of minutes.